God bless everyone. I am Levager Edgenonkob. Our report topic is moral theories. A theory is a structured set of statements used to explain or predict a set of a fact or concept. Moral theories provide the framework upon which we think and discuss in a reasoned way and so evaluate specific moral issues. Di siya nga kuan, nag-determine siya sa right and wrong o nag-provide siya a way of understanding sa mga dynamics of the complex strategic environment. Then, theories is one of the notion of cause and effect. There have emerged multiple common theories and traditions. Mao ni ang consequentialism. Consequentialism acts are deemed to be morally right solely on the basis of their consequence. Kaya ang consequentialism kay sometimes nag-criticize siya if it can be difficult or even impossible to know what time the result of our actions. Consequentialism have two principles. Number one, whether an act is right or wrong depends only on the result of that act. Ang acts can lead to decisions that are objectionable, even though the consequences are arguable or arguably due or gibuhat niya. Makakakuan siya og consequence. Bisag right or wrong ba na siya. Then number two, the better consequences an act provide the better or more right than that act. A person should choose the action that maximizes good consequence. Okay, moral subjectivism. Right and wrong is determined by you. The subject just happen to think or feel is right or wrong. Moral subjectivism amounts to the denial of moral principles of any significant kind and the possibility of moral criticism and argumentation. Bisan og right and wrong lose their meaning because so long as someone think or feels sa action, there are no grounds for criticism. Kung kita moral subjectivism, we cannot object to anyone's behaviors or assuming peoples are in fact acting in accordance with what they think or feel is right. Moral statements are made true or false by the attitudes and or convictions of the observers, and any ethical sentence just implies an attitude, opinion, personal preference, or feeling held by someone. Ang statement man good kay to be considered morally right or merely means that it is met with approved by the persons of interest. Judgment about human conduct and in many ways limited to perceptions. That's all.
Our topic is moral theories. and I will be discussing the 8 different types of moral subjectivism. So number 1, simple subjectivism. The view that ethical statement reflects sentiments, personal preference, and feelings rather than objective facts. So, for example, kung moingon kog murder is wrong, meaning dili ko sang-ayon nga sa pagpatay. Ningon pod siya nga, ningon pod ka nga ang pagpatay kay okay lang kay tungod kay punishment to siya. So, we cannot disagree about what other persons sincerely stated. So, number 2, individualist subjectivism. The view originally put forward by Protagoras that there are as many distinct scales of good and evil as there are individuals in the world. So it is effectively a form of egoism which maintains that every human being ought to pursue what is in his or her self-interest exclusively. So for example, mingon ko nga tama si Leo sa pagpangawat kay tungod kay para to sa iyang asawa nga nagkasakit, ug ningon po ka nga sayop si Leo or mali si Leo kay tungod ang pagpangawat kay usa ka kuan ka na sala. So sa atong pahayag or sa atong opinion kay kuan ka na sakto bitaw tang duha, tas wala tay dapat debatihan kay sakto man. Number 3, moral relativism or ethical relativism. The view that for a thing to be morally right is to be approved of by society, leading to the conclusion that different things are right for people in different societies and different periods in history. So for example, ang pag-asawa sa ilahang kadugo is sa ilang culture kay pwede na kay tungod makatabang daw ni sa ilahang bloodline o pwede na sa ilang culture. Tas napoy uban nga dili pwede kay isa ni ka sayop or bawal sa ilang culture. Tas ang kuan ani kay kuan kanang moral relativism, kung unsa ang sakto ug dili nagdepende siya sa religion, culture, or time and situation. So pag panalitan dawat to sa culture and napoy uban dili na bawal na silang culture. Number 4, ideal observer theory. The view that is right is determined by the attitude that a hypothetical individual observer, a being who is perfectly rational, imaginative, and informed would have. So for example, ako kay mahilig man ko maligo o gabi. Tas mo to isa kadlaw natulog ko sa ilang nanay na nakitaan ko ng nanay na naligo dito sa matulog, naligo sa matulog. Tas mo to nakitaan ko ng nanay, gi-advisean ko ni nanay kay ang pagligo daw og gabi kay unhealthy, dili maayo, tas maka-reduce og blood pressure. So mo to gi-advise to ni nanay sa ako, mo to gisunod nako ang advice ni nanay kay tungod kay mas naa siya experience and mas naa siya kahibalo kay tungod magulang siya nako. 5, ethical egoism. Right and wrong is determined by what is in your self-interest, or it is immoral to act contrary to your self-interest. So, ang example ani is si Ashley kay galisod and iyang parents kay galisod sab nga ning kamot para makahuman siya og eskwela. So, naisa kaadlaw si Ashley kay nisulod ay ni eskwela. Tapos, kuan ka nang siya nakitaan sa iyang classmate nga bag-og cellphone. Panalitan ni butaw nato si Ana na ay bag-og cellphone si Ana, nakita niya. So, mauto ka nang pag-uli niya, kay nangayo siya kwarta sa iyang parents, kay tungod lagi, ay nangayo siya kwarta sa iyang parents, kay kuan daw ka nang naaibaryo nun sa ilang eskwelahan, kailangan bayaran, anak mo to. Iyang parents, gihatag to na kwarta, pero ang gipalit ay ang gihimo ay ni Ashley sa kwarta kay gipalit og cellphone. Kay na gusto lagi siya sa iyahang kuan kanang mapalit niya iyahang gusto. So mao to gipalit niya iyahang gustong parihag cellphone ni ana. So mao to kanang bisag galisod iyang mama, bisag wala na kay sila, iyahang gipalit gyud kay tungod lang sa iyahang self-interest. So number 6, utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a theory that holds that the best way to make a moral decision is to look at the potential consequence of each available choice and then pick the option that either does most to increase happiness or does less to increase suffering. So for example, ani kay kuan nipalit kag ice cream, namili ka sa imong flavor. So the utilitarian view is piliun tong kuan kanang favorite nimo panalay cookies and cream. So imo jud tong piliun ng cookies and cream to give you a pleasure or mas malipay ka ato nga kuan kaning flavor kaysa naman piliun to nimong mango nya dili day ka satisfy ato nga flavor. So maka-stress rag samot sa imo. So number 7, deontology or deontological. So the word deontology derives from the Greek words deon for duty and logos for science or study. So this is focused on the rightness or wrongness of action themselves, supposed to the rightness or wrongness of the consequence of those action, consequentialism, or to the character and habits of the actor, virtual ethics. So deontologists state that society needs rule in order to function and that a person can only be called moral to the extent that he abides by those rules. So for example, ani kay kuan kanang so ang doktor kay gipangutana or giask siya sa isa ka patient kung unsa iyang sakit. So ang buhaton sa doktor ani kay imoingon siya sa tinuod bisan pag maka-stress or maka-emotion kahatag ni gaguol sa patient sa iyahang patient makahatag og gaguol kay iyahamang duty kay ingon ang tinuod nga unsa joy sakit sa iyahang patient regardless of the consequences. Iyaha jud ingon ang tinuod. Number 8, virtue ethics. A virtue is an excellent trait of character. It is a disposition well entrenched in its possessor. Something that, as we say, goes all the way down to notice, expect, value, feel, desire, choose, act, and react in certain characteristics ways. Virtues ethics state that only good people can make good moral decisions. It can be seen in the concept of honesty. So for example, kay akong igagaw kay yang giuli ang sukli nga nanubra sa tindahan. Tas another example is kanang si Amira kanang iyahang nibalik siya sa TNT para bayaran tong nalimtan niyag bayad nga ballpen. Bisag 10 ra ganito na ballpen si Amira nibalik yun sa TNT para to bayaran. So by practicing honest, we become honest.
God bless everyone. My name is Richard V. Estigoy from VSN Math. So for today's discussion, I will discuss you the 3 main elements of virtue ethic. First, eudaimonism. Eudaimonism is an ethical theory that holds that the ultimate goal of human life is to achieve eudaimonia, a term often translated as happiness, flourishing, or well-being. However, eudaimonia in this context refers to a deeper and more complex concept of happiness than mere pleasure or the absence of pain. Eudaimonia is often associated with ancient Greek philosophy, particularly the works of Aristotle. Aristotle believed that eudaimonia is achieved through the cultivation and exercise of virtuous character traits such as courage, wisdom, justice, and compassion. Virtuous actions and habits lead to a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction that is deeper and more enduring than mere pleasure or the pursuit of material goods. For example, they might volunteer their time to help others in need, stand up for what they believe to be right and just, and pursue intellectual and personal growth. They might also seek out meaningful relationships with others, engage in creative and fulfilling pursuits, and strive to achieve their potential in all aspects of life. In modern times, eudaimonism has been developed into a broader ethical theory known as virtue ethics, which emphasize the importance of developing virtuous character traits in order to live a good life. Eudaimonism remains a central concept in virtue ethics, with eudaimonia understood as the ultimate goal of human life, achieved through the cultivation of virtuous character and the pursuit of excellence in all aspects of life. The second is ethic of care. In virtue ethics, the ethic of care is a perspective that emphasizes the importance of virtues such as compassion, empathy, and sympathy in interpersonal relationships. Virtue ethics emphasizes the development of good character traits and virtues, such as honesty, courage, and kindness, as a way to guide ethical behavior. The ethic of care within virtue ethics emphasizes the importance of developing virtues that enable individuals to care for others in a compassionate and empathetic way. It emphasizes the importance of developing virtues such as empathy, sensitivity, and responsiveness to the needs of others. Proponents of the ethic of care within virtue ethics argue that it provides a more holistic and compassionate approach to ethics, emphasizing the importance of interpersonal relationships and the development of character traits that enable individuals to care for others. An example of the ethic of care could be a teacher who takes the time to understand the unique needs and abilities of their students and provides individualized support to help them learn and succeed. The teacher may take the time to listen to their students, provide emotional supports, and create a nurturing and supportive learning environment. The teacher is exhibiting the virtues of empathy, sensitivity, and responsiveness to the needs of their students and is developing a relationships of care and trust with them. Agent-based theories. Agent-based theories are a class of ethical theories that focus on the moral character of individuals and the virtues or character traits that enable them to act ethically. These theories are also known as virtue ethics or character ethics. Agent-based theories emphasize the importance of developing good character traits such as honesty, compassion, courage, and fairness as a way to guide ethical behavior rather than focusing on rules or consequences. Agent-based theories emphasize the importance of cultivating virtues and developing moral character. The theory of natural rights. The theory of natural rights is a political and moral philosophy that asserts that individuals have certain inherent rights that are not dependent on the laws or customs of any particular society or government. These rights are often thought to include the rights to life, liberty, and property, as well as freedoms of speech, religion, and association. The concept of natural rights has been influential in the development of modern Western political thought, particularly in the United States, where it was enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. Proponents of natural rights argue that these rights provide a basis for limiting the power of governments, protecting individual freedoms, and promoting human dignity and welfare. 3. Moral relativism. Moral relativism is the view that moral values and principles are not absolute or universal, but are instead relative to the cultural, historical, or individual context in which they are found. In the context of virtue ethics, moral relativism can be seen as a challenge to the idea that there are objective, universal standards of moral excellence or virtue. Proponents of virtue ethics argue that there are certain character traits or dispositions that are universally valued, such as honesty, courage, compassion, and wisdom. These virtues are seen as essential to living a flourishing, fulfilling life and are thought to be grounded in human nature or in some kind of natural order. An example of moral relativism is the belief that actions that are considered morally acceptable in one culture may be considered morally wrong in another. For instance, the practice of eating beef is considered morally acceptable in many cultures but is considered morally wrong in some Hindu cultures, where cows are considered sacred. Similarly, the practice of polygamy is considered morally acceptable in some cultures, but is considered morally wrong in another. Moral relativism also applies to individual moral beliefs and values. For example, one person may believe that it is morally wrong to eat meat, while another person may believe that it is morally acceptable to do so. Moral relativism suggests that there is no objective standard by which to evaluate the morality of these beliefs, and that they are ultimately a matter of personal preference or cultural upbringing. However, critics of moral relativism
Thank you for listening. God bless all.